Storm's coming and it's coming fast.
Trending on Twitter and everywhere else.
Sharknado!
You know, we thought our Twitter feed wouldn't crash tonight.
You guys?
But we were wrong.
Can't sit back and watch this.
Word of mouth spread and people started tuning in.
How to survive a Sharknado.
A feeding frenzy, I tell you, over Sharknado 2.
It's happening again.
We have that southerly shark wind.
Look out, New York, a Sharknado is coming your way.
I gotta get a chainsaw.
So why has Sharknado become such a cultural phenomenon?
Everyone wants it.
I mean, sharks!
Sharknado 2 went through the ratings roof last night.
Sharks are invading social media, setting the Twitterverse on fire.
Really, with 3.9 million people watching the Syfy channel, you think they might sit down with you?
We now resume our regularly scheduled programming.
Who needs PR when you have the whole media world helping you?
Sharks flying through the air.
The Twister with teeth.
5,000 tweets a minute.
We're gonna need a bigger chopper. 500,000 tweets in the past 24 hours.
Oh, I've flown worse.
When something bites us, we bite back.
We gotta work quick before the Twisters merge.
I mean, look, it's a tornado made of sharks.
That seems pretty dangerous.
It is the Super Bowl of B film.
It's cheesy done just right.
Oh, hell no!
Before there was a Sharknado, there was a small company making small films.
There have always been bad movies being made, but we thought we could make better bad movies.
It's good. Not great.
To understand Sharknado is to understand the company has a very long history with Syfy. You could probably go on the Syfy channel at any given time of the week and see one of our shows.
We'll get a concept and they'll say, we want a movie with a giant shark and a giant octopus, and then do what you will.
Who would want to watch these movies?
Those kind of movies that the Asylum makes, those are pretty much my favorite kind of movies.
There's sharks everywhere.
Sharks? I love those movies.
We're having dinner with the fine folks of Syfy. They wanted to know what projects we were working on, and we told them we had in development an idea of a film about sharks that were sucked up from a storm and that would dump out into the city.
Not quite over the top enough for us. I've got this idea for Sharknado. We'll combine your idea and mine. I'm going to repitch this.
We heard that and said, oh yeah, that's a better title.
Chris comes running into my office and says, we have to do a movie called Sharknado.
I'm the first person to say bad things about our movies, and do often.
Didn't care for the title.
The most ridiculous name for a movie.
That is the dumbest idea I have ever heard.
Sharknado. Really? Really?
That's a silly name.
Initially, I thought it was a little silly.
It's so absurd and so unscientific.
It's entirely possible that marine life can be drawn out of the ocean from twisters and things like that.
It makes no sense.
They make these movies all the time. There's so many low-budget movies, there's so many big-budget movies that you can care less about.
I hired Thunder Levin to come in and do the longer treatment in the script.
It's Sharknado. And I said, what do sharks have to do with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization? Because I heard Sharknado, and I was envisioning sharks fighting against the army in Europe or something. And he said, no, Sharknado, a tornado full of sharks. And I said, oh, well, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And if I can write it like that, I'm in.
The script made no sense to me. It was just really out there without being comical. I mean, it was a tough film because you wanted the outrageousness of it, but there's still a structure and a way to produce these films that you kind of have some authentic, real grasp to what the story is. And this clearly just went beyond that.
There are many people who could not believe that this was actually a movie and not a hoax or a joke.
lot of people claim ownership over the initial Sharknado idea.
My occasional writing partner, Jacob Hare, and I, we were brainstorming some ideas, and he goes, Sharknado, and I'm like, that's a great idea, and so we put it into a pitch. It was shipped off to Syfy. They rejected it twice, but I couldn't let it go, and I put a reference to it in this Leprechaun movie that I wrote.
And he had made a movie called Leprechaun 2 for Syfy.
Or Leprechaun's Revenge. It was one of the Leprechaun movies. And they had a throwaway line.
Can I get a quote?
Remember last time I gave you a quote?
Yeah, when the tornado brought the sharks to the lake, Sharknado.
It took me 2 years to live that stupid headline down.
I saw that line, and I said, my gosh, that's a great line. I said, not only is it a great line, that's a movie.
He loved the title so much that from that time, he pushed Syfy to make it.
Somehow, somewhere, people had forgotten where it came from. Most of the time, I'll give Anthony credit when he's come up with something. I mean, after all, I didn't invent the word Sharknado.
Sharknado was intended to be just another Saturday night creature feature, but first, it had to be made.
Action!
So when we came down looking for a director,
we pitched Sharknado to Anthony, and he told us, well, surprisingly enough, that it's actually his movie. He had come up with the title, and maybe he was a little surprised that we were pitching it to him.
it just seemed like the most obvious thing. It's like, well, here you have the director who came up with that title, and we want him to direct it.
We pitched him to Syfy, and
it was a fight.
They felt that he was too much of a horror director. Syfy wanted us to keep looking.
No one else wanted to direct the film. In the meantime, Anthony's storyboarding the film. You know, the script, he's like lobbying hard to do this, and we want to give it to him.
Sharknado was a film adrift, a ship without a captain.
We were getting to the point where it's just like, we have to find a director.
It was nuts. As time wore on, we beat down Syfy, and they finally agreed to let us use Anthony. And for me, all was right in the world.
This was a chance to actually do something that was visual effects, action, and comedy, which I really like.
He's an animal. He's really dedicated every ounce of his being into the Sharknado movies.
Anthony Ciferrante has a very interesting style.
Look this way, fall down, and you see the shark coming at you, and you go,
What I thought was scattered and a bit haphazard, I've come to realize as genius. I can equate acting and directing to painting a picture. The actors are the particular colors, but it's the director who is painting the picture, using those colors to tell the story.
And then I should cue shark blood? Is that teeth blood or what?
Yeah.
Shark blood.
Anthony's ability to tell the story and knowing exactly what he needed from his actors is really brilliant.
And there's sharks down below. Grab.
Because it's so scattered and fragmented that only in his mind is he able to pull it all together to make this story. He's incredibly imaginative, and he has the ability of forethought that I've never seen from anyone else. He can see the movie in its entirety while we're shooting it.
I don't know what happened. I think everybody must be stoned out there.
I just think
smoke some weed and watch Sharknado, man.
America. The Empire gave you tea, civilization, and the English language. And you respond with Sharknado.
One of our first big challenges was finding a cast for a movie that had sharks flying around in the sky.
Everyone we asked turned it down. How the hell am I going to get somebody to do this movie?
We're okay with some crazy titles.
It could be, you know, career suicide.
It was just a little bit too much to ask for some actors to do to their careers.
It's such a crazy concept, and these bigger name actors are like, what did you say? Like somebody thought you misspoke. So I called David Latt, our producer, and said, we have to change the title of this movie, at least for casting purposes. And he goes, why? I said, because I can't get anybody to read past page 1. We talked about it internally, and we came up with actually another name, and the name was Dark Skies.
Pretty much within a week of changing it to Dark Skies, we signed up Tara Reid and John Hurd, but we still couldn't get a lead.
Sharknado came to me as a straight-up offer, which immediately told me that someone had probably passed on it. I read it and really wasn't so excited about the project. You know, working in a science fiction genre with a very low budget doesn't really lend itself to James Cameron type visual effects. About halfway through the script, there were so many holes that were left to be filled by these visual effects. I just didn't have a tremendous amount of confidence in it, especially when I read the scene where there was a shark that was chomping up a rope to try and eat me.
Yeah, that's very tricky to pull off. And
somehow you do it. I don't know how, but it's awesome.
It's a lot of duct tape and chewing gum.
That's just about enough of you!
I played the lead in all the Sharknado feature films. Well, there I am there, and that's me. Can you see? Are you showing a little clip now? And there I am. This right there, that's my favorite scene. My God, I was magnificent, wasn't I? Look at those teeth. My dental bills are extraordinary.
Ian Ziering is a hero. He is an American hero.
If you talk to Ian, he's very honest about why he took the role.
The story I've heard firsthand that Ian's wife almost literally kicked him out the door and said, you have to go get some work, go make this movie.
I told my wife that they want to start shooting this in less than a week. They're scrambling, and I could see why. The script really leaves a lot to be desired. I just didn't think it would be the right career move.
Ian Ziering was part of one of the most successful television shows in history. Now he was being offered scripts like Sharknado. Dark Skies.
She looked at me with my daughter Penna in her belly still and Mia in her arms and said, you need to go to work. And it was true. As an actor, I received my health care coverage from my unions. And when the baby on the way, I realized that my wife was right. No longer was I in this for myself. I was now not just a husband, but I was also a provider. And dad is a job where you can't fail. So you do whatever it takes to be successful. I realized, gosh, crap, I'm gonna have to take one for the team. And as that resonated, I continued reading to the point where I saw the obligatory scene where Finn jumps into the air with the chainsaw into the belly of the shark. I was like, oh my God, and I'm reading, and then I see that he chainsaws his way out from the belly of the shark. And I thought, well, that's pretty badass. Okay, all right, maybe this won't be so bad. And I called my agent, and I said, all right, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Who better to kill sharks with a chainsaw?
Steve Sanders playing Finn Shepard was cool.
Need a lift?
Glad to see you.
Finally, a natural disaster that makes Aquaman useful.
Now the producers had a director and a cast, but still very little money to make sharks fly.
Hi, Los Angeles. I'm meteorologist Jen Delgado with your forecast today. Lots of sunshine around for you.
The film is supposed to take place in a giant storm, and we shot that film in January in Los Angeles, which, if any of you are out here, and tell people in the Midwest with great glee that it's usually about 70 or 80 degrees and sunny in January in Los Angeles, and that's exactly what it was when we were filming that.
Trying to create the end of the world with a sunny, perfect paradise, Southern California weather was nightmarish, to say the least.
So there was a lot of challenges on the post side.
There were many visual effects added on into the movie that were sky related. Basically, I would say 60–70% of the sky had to be completely replaced.
I ended up doing about 300 visual effects shots for the film because I hated the sunny here and the cloudy there, so I had to try and, and our visual effects guys were completely tapped out, with all the effects they had to do.
There's a lot of days spent with a camera team in a van and a picture vehicle with a couple actors in it. We're following one cloud, literally following one cloud, waiting for it to rain. And then we had to kind of augment whatever we didn't get practically with rain towers, and rain towers is extremely, again, time-consuming and expensive.
All right, let's go ahead and roll it, and then we'll do the rain. Let's roll sound, roll sound.
And it was extremely challenging, let's put it that way.
These sharks in this movie are all, CGI. There's no real sharks, so and some people are like, really? They're not real? So it's kind of funny.
Ah! God, come on! Mother Sorry, I can't, ridiculous. I can't.
You're in a soundstage and you have to look at a pink sticker and you're basically told to imagine sharks blowing up in the sky.
What does a shark look like leaping through the air?
You're really kind of overthinking it. I mean, what are the chances a car can turn into a robot?
So it needs to look really good. I mean, as good as we can make it. I mean, some of the other sharks, we only ever see them in the background, so they don't need to have quite as much work put into them. Studying the footage of the great white sharks leaping out of the water, hunting seals. It's really getting all the detail in the mouth and the teeth and around the eyes and making that so that it all moves properly and the gills move and everything can be as realistic as we can get it.
You really don't know what the outcome of this film is going to be till they edit it with the sharks in. So we have, I have no idea what it's going to look like until the end.
We were flooding the streets. I think that was one of the bigger rewrites in the script, is deciding what level of water and when it would start, because initially it's just flooded throughout, and you'd have things floating in CG water and some cases real water, and if we use stock shots, that water had to match the level.
There's a scene where April, Tara Reid's character, is in her house in Beverly Hills, and the house is flooded. And even when I read the script, I thought, how are we going to do this? And what they did is they found an empty swimming pool in a park, and they built the set inside the swimming pool.
They had to flood the inside of the deep end, and the water was freezing cold that night.
Things were on a slippery slope during production, and it only got worse.
About 4 or 5 days into shooting, Anthony, our director, comes to tell the cast that they're titling Dark Skies Sharknado.
Oh my God! No!
And I thought it was a big joke because it was so preposterous. Sharknado, seriously, come on. Really? He's like, yeah. And I started to become pretty anxious about that because Sharknado is just so ridiculous. I couldn't accept that that was the reality.
When Tara Reid found out the movie was going to be called Sharknado, she was upset. She didn't want to appear in a film that was called Sharknado.
They wanted assurances, even after she signed the contract, that this film was not going to be called Sharknado, or else she was going to walk. We have no control over it. We're calling it Dark Skies. We do happen to like that title. It's a nice title. But knowing, I guess, full well that Syfy really has the control over those titles, and they like Sharknado, but we convinced her that we weren't going to do that, or that wasn't our intention.
When I signed on to the movie, it was called Dark Skies.
Hey man, the cast is so upset. They just found out that the name of the film is going to be Sharknado. I go, well, wait a minute, how do they know that? And they're like, oh, I think the director said something about it. And I think it was because Anthony was so excited about it because of the history.
So what do you mean, Sharknado? What, Great White Skies wasn't available? And I just thought of that in 2 seconds. They came up with Sharknado, and it says, yeah, Sharknado. So, just gonna need a minute. I gotta use the bathroom. I ran into the bathroom.
He called his agent and was like, you gotta get me out of this.
I am never gonna work again. They're gonna call it Sharknado. The working title was just that, a working title. They're gonna release this under the name Sharknado.
The talent kind of unionized and demanded that we stop shooting until we get assurances that it will not be called Sharknado, because they will not be in a film called Sharknado. This was career suicide. We had to kind of go on set and calm everyone down and say, it's called Dark Skies. However everyone wants to call it, and they want us to write down in legal form that it will never be called Sharknado.
And I can't have that on my resume. No one's ever gonna hire me again. Are you kidding? Do whatever you can to get me off this. I said, Ian, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. It'll probably go right to video. No one's gonna see this movie. You're taking care of your family. And I was like, oh.
What seemed like a low point in Ian Ziering's career now felt like the end of his career.
Anthony's gonna do a good job. You guys are gonna look good. It's gonna be an awesome movie. We promise, And there was really like, all right, okay, well, we really trust you on this, but it was a tough sell.
So I came out from the bathroom with pause, and I spoke to Anthony. I said, all right, Sharknado it is, but thinking that this is just gonna be a nail in my coffin.
He took a chance on me because I was asking him to do things that were really weird, like, hey, birth yourself out of a shark, could kill any other actor's career, and he just did it with gusto.
I know Anthony had to do some tap dancing. I don't know how he managed it, but they all stayed on, as we know.
I'm surprised Ian Ziering didn't reach back into the shark's guts and pull in an Oscar for Best Picture.
The movie no one wanted to direct and no one wanted to be in was finally complete.
July 14th, 2013, 8 o'clock at night, Syfy aired Sharknado.
In every other one of the films we'd done for Syfy, I think they premiered on Saturday nights. That was their, original movie night. And this one, it was either a Wednesday or a Thursday, I don't remember which, and we thought, kiss of death, nobody's gonna watch this, they're not even gonna know to look for it.
Syfy likes us to live tweet on these shows. My wife sees me with my iPad watching the movie and keep going back and forth, and she sees me hesitate, and she's like, why aren't you tweeting? And I'm like, I can't. I don't know what's going on, but everything's moving like this. And it's so freaking me out that everything's moving really fast, and I'm like, I'm convinced that I broke something.
My wife comes to me and says, you need to check Twitter. Something is happening with Syfy and something called a Sharknado.
Everyone was sort of checking Twitter, and it kind of filtered in that things were kind of popping on Twitter.
I jumped on Twitter and I looked at what was happening, and of course I immediately rushed to the television and started emailing my colleagues.
Something happened.
And I looked and I saw the Twitter account blowing up.
At its peak, more than 5,000 hashtag Sharknado tweets per minute.
We hit the right time, the right place. This doesn't happen to people like me.
I saw my phone literally alerting itself to battery death. I looked, I had 75 text messages, I had 100 phone calls, I had like 50 emails. And as I stopped to read some of the tweets or text messages, I found out the response to Sharknado was completely opposite of what I had thought the reactions would be. It was wildly successful. It was a Sharknado.
It was just the most surreal night of my life.
The ratings initially were not that strong, but the social media aspect was amazing.
For whatever reason, because it was a slow news day, you had all these huge stars tweeting about it.
An American cultural phenomenon.
It became a topic of conversation.
I kept seeing celebrity after celebrity tweeting about it.
Mia Farrow tweeting about it? Like that was really weird to me.
Whoa, is that really Mia Farrow? Talk about Sharknado.
There was such hoopla about this. First time I worked with a young Mia Farrow was on a movie called Hurricane, 1977. Absolutely terrible film. But working with her, oh my God, there's no telling what she's going to do or say.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is something.
When Sharknado came out, I was, first of all, I was very excited about it, and I knew about it. And then I saw it, and it surpassed and exceeded any expectations that I had.
We had no idea it was going to blow up like it did.
When we woke up that morning, there was nothing different about that morning, but the world had changed a little bit.
The underdog film no one believed in was real and had actually changed the world.
I remember the morning I came into the show and everyone was talking about Sharknado, and it's the ultimate example of the way we watch TV these days. We don't just watch it, we have to tweet along with it, and then it becomes this cultural phenomenon.
This was a situation where people were actually commenting on and cracking on and snarking on the movie in real time.
It was on Good Morning America and like every news station.
The big news story to come out of all of this is not that it got great ratings, because we all know tweets do not equal good ratings. It's that the Twitter buzz around Sharknado surpassed even The Red Wedding, which was the biggest Game of Thrones episode of the season.
Hold on, is this really our Sharknado?
I wasn't even in town, I was in Mexico on vacation, and I got this phone call. They're like, can you believe what's going on? I'm like, what? What's happening? They're like, Sharknado got over 1 million hits on Twitter. I'm like, what?
The next day, we came into the office and there was so much media and coverage that was happening in the news, and then it felt like everyone felt obligated to cover Sharknado as a story.
Everyone's talking about Sharknado. Morning shows start talking about it.
Jimmy Kimmel had done a riff on it.
Major newspapers, New York Times and Washington Post.
The Weather Channel had a couple riffs on it.
Top networks, cable news shows.
It was something they couldn't ignore.
People wanted to interview anybody. Like, hey, you're the janitor. You clean up the asylum. Can you give us any inside information on Sharknado?
So I mentioned it on the air and I said, Sharknado, what? Tornado made out of sharks? Like, what else could it be? It has to be a tornado made out of sharks. And I had to see that movie.
It's the perfect marriage of two insane, frightening things turned into a cornball mishmash of awesomeness.
It's so bizarre that they would be spending any attention on this thing, but across platform networks.
It's one thing for the consumer press to call, but Nightline call and World News Tonight, and at that moment, there was a coup, a military coup in Egypt, and you're worrying about Sharknado?
It's like, what the hell is going on here?
What the hell indeed? How did a B movie about sharks in a tornado become a media sensation?
Oh my God, like, we had a great night.
I couldn't turn the television on at one point in time and not catch a Sharknado reference.
What was bizarre is that it became a news cycle story for like a few days.
I really started looking up like, wait a second, is this possible?
Matt Damon, Born Supremacy, was talking on Kelly and Michael Strahan's show how he kind of dug the movie. Kelly and Michael did a little parody of Sharknado 1 for their Halloween episode.
Out of the ocean and then hurls them onto land.
What's the matter, Gilman? You're not buying it?
No, I don't buy it.
Here we go again.
Mike, help me out here. I can't hold him anymore.
What you wanna bite me for, man, huh? You wanna bite? I'll show you a bite. Oh, man.
Baby, we're in the eye of the storm.
There's something fishy going on out there.
I think
Robert De Niro.
we're gonna need a bigger boat.
I think they're gone. What do you think?
Think again. They'll be back.
Everybody is captivated by this crazy cockamamie movie.
I'm just waiting for like someone to come by and go, just kidding. This is all a joke. It's been the ultimate, prank.
Right.
I think everyone in the world has heard about Sharknado.
Who hasn't heard of Sharknado?
I actually watched it when it originally premiered.
Everyone's emailing me about it. Then I went on to Twitter and saw sort of all the excitement that was happening. You're seeing all these celebrities from Damon Lindelof, Judah Friedlander, Mia Farrow.
Isn't exactly Gone with the Wind.
No. We're not trying to be Gone with the Wind.
That's why it's so fun.
It really became one celebrity trying to outdo another celebrity with the next line that they could come up with.
Even Red Cross Oklahoma took to Twitter with, if it were to happen, it would be in Oklahoma. Why? Because we're tough like that.
It was going beyond just fanboys. I think we're just all stunned that we did something right.
A social media blockbuster in a summer full of flops.
Sharknado just blew up Twitter.
Sharknado was so tweetable.
It resulted in it being a trending topic in 7 different places at one point.
The whole reason I knew what was happening was because of Twitter. In fact, Chrissy Teigen, one of the girls I work with a lot on Sports Illustrated, she was the one who was tweeting the most about it, and I was reading everything she was saying. It was like watching the movie, except not.
Lady Gaga, with the 150 zillion followers on Twitter, said her guilty pleasure is Sharknado.
It's sad to say, I've never gotten more response to anything in my 20-something year career at the Today Show than Sharknado.
I watched Sharknado, the first one. I live tweeted it. It was super fun.
I love using social media. It's definitely about connecting with the fans and you're interacting with them, especially on Twitter.
Everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on Twitter, everybody's on Instagram.
Somebody will tweet about it, and then somebody will retweet that, and then somebody will post something on YouTube, and then it'll just grow from there.
Once I started getting the sense of what people were saying, I turned on the TV like everybody else.
When a middle-aged white man is aware of something on Twitter, you know it's a sensation.
You tell me, is this a great line or a terrible line? Number 1, sharks. I never saw that coming.
Sharknado's huge with social media.
It has reached all angles of life. Athletes are watching it, other movie stars are watching it. It has become basically pop culture communication. And if you're not watching Sharknado, we're sort of like, oh, well, what are you watching?
Because platforms like Reddit, like Twitter, etc. exist, there is this live, real-time, co-watching experience that can happen.
It's very much out there and crazy and something that you would want to share with your friends or people you know.
Everyone is connected.
So the fact that we can all share this international experience together online is pretty special.
You know, like social media has allowed you to interact with the creators, with the fans, with the network, being able to tell a network what you want to see in a new Sharknado movie.
This is about every single person having a platform to make their opinion important.
What we were able to do is to deliver a product that satiated this huge desire for this kind of entertainment. So much so, the excitement was so profound that it spilled over into mainstream entertainment.
And it becomes an active event. You're not just sitting back on your couch. You're not a couch potato.
It's an event, a social event.
If it weren't for Twitter, none of us would be here right now. We wouldn't be doing this interview.
It became part of the American zeitgeist.
I get great satisfaction out of the fact that I'm sure every person we asked to star in this film that turned us down was kicking themselves the day after it premiered.
People are more interested in the fact that I worked on Sharknado than worked with Tom Cruise or anyone else for that matter.
But never expected it to come to this kind of level.
And I'd love to be able to sit here and say, oh yes, we knew this was genius.
There's no way not to have been surprised by the way Sharknado has taken off. I mean, who could have expected that from this little, low-budget B Sci-Fi Channel movie?
It was a title that just sort of grabbed you. It was something that you couldn't ignore.
What is this? Let's take a look at this.
I think it is bold enough to say, guys, we're not taking it seriously either.
This is a fun movie, and what separates this from every other genre is that everyone's in on the joke except the actors.
Storm's coming and it's coming fast. Get home safe, everybody.
At the end of the day, it's about understanding and species coming together and understanding one another and hope.
I'm surprised it took so long for people to think up this idea. No one thinks of Sharknado till when, 2013 or something?
How often do we see an original idea in Hollywood?
Creativity is a little lacking nowadays. Like there's so many remakes and retell this story and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, where are the original stories? Where's the people that, you know, kind of eat, sleep, and live this thing that's like coming up with these new and innovative ideas?
I've never drank or done drugs, but it may or may not have something to do with that.
It was the best title in the world. It's the most silliest, ridiculous concept in the world. They had great casting and timing. People were ready to embrace something like this. Sharknado! You need moments of levity. You need to be able to kick back, have a beer, and be like, I'm gonna watch some fools get eaten by a Sharknado.
It's just a movie for people to escape.
What I really liked is the fact that my college-age kids and I both thought it was hilarious. So that's what was fun. It wasn't anything that was offensive. It was just funny.
Times are tough, and people need a laugh, and it makes you laugh. It does. It's just funny stuff.
It's just a cool thing, and it's one of those things that, you know, to be part of something this big in pop culture is special.
It's written well, and especially for what it is.
It's a perfect formula of being just serious enough, but also campy. And there are a collection of moments in these movies that, as a person watching this, go, yes!
It falls on Anthony Ciferante. He knows the recipe and he will not give you the ingredient.
So the recipe for Sharknado, 2 parts tornado, 1 part Iron's earrings face, 1 part amputation, 2 parts chainsaw, 17 parts shark. That's the formula.
The right cast, the right creature, the right disaster, those are the essential elements. I think with Sharknado, sharks in particular are something that people fear. So there's a little bit of that internal fear going all the way back to Jaws.
But Sharknado accomplished something that major motion picture studios pray for. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars to accomplish what Sharknado has done. You know, just before we go any further, in my periphery, I see this shark, and I find it a bit disconcerting. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna deal with it. It's much better. Yeah, I feel much better. I don't have a chainsaw in my hands. I don't like to be surrounded by sharks.
Forget BC, forget AD. Welcome to the year 1 AS, after Sharknado.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we make our final ascent, we're expecting to hit a little bit of turbulence.
We're almost home. Are you okay?
It's happening again.
Once you've changed the world, how do you do it again?
Maybe with a sequel.
They made a real quick announcement about Sharknado 2, and of course we're going to say yes.
Sequels have to be bigger than the first movie to succeed.
We started talking to Syfy, and we told them we could get it done for next July.
We have the full frontal assault of Syfy and NBC, and we had never experienced that before.
They really wanted to ensure that they had the same type of reaction.
Sitting in a huge boardroom where you had every department from Syfy and also a little bit from NBC coming in and kind of pitching on how they're going to craft Sharknado 2 and make it into a thing, including the head of the network, Dave Howe, and gave us kind of our challenges to make sure that we get lightning in a bottle twice. Leaving that meeting, you definitely have the pressure of, can we do it?
The success of Sharknado was a surprise. Sharknado 2 had to be even more successful, and this time on purpose.
You've set up expectations that are so high, it's really hard to meet high expectations.
Who knows? Sharknado may have just been a one-trick pony.
What are we going to do to keep this going?
Producers just released the script today. Take a look. That's it right there. Shark Left Tornado 2. Part 2.
We had to figure out what we're going to do to say, hey, this isn't just what you saw last year. This is something more.
The way we keep it alive is we make it bigger, better, more outrageous, a little bit off-center, new characters, new situations, new gags. When you start with something outrageous, you don't really have a ceiling.
The secret of battling sharks is you gotta have your weapons and just go for it.
There had been a lot of awareness raised by Sharknado 1.
Whenever a deadly weather pattern combines with a man-eating creature,
Tara and I will be there to stop it.
When you come off of something like Sharknado 1 with all of that excitement and media attention, everyone's going to tune in at the beginning of Sharknado 2 to see what it is.
And you can't disappoint those people.
So we made sure especially the beginning of the film was great.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is flight 209. We've lost engine number 2.
In Sharknado 2, it was one of the things I sort of fought hard. I'm like, we're gonna cut Tara Reid's arm off. With that, and everyone was like, you're crazy. We're not gonna do that. Yeah, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna give her like a saw on her arm. We're gonna go all Tarantino, Rodriguez on this. We have to.
Sharknado 2, as good as the first, only better.
Sharknado 2 had a bigger budget, but not that much bigger.
Big part of my job is the finance and making sure we have the money to make these films. That has been the biggest challenge.
The money issue is a big pressure issue.
This company has always been able to make its movies on cash flow, that the money that comes in for the crappy movie we made 6 months ago is paying for today's crappy movie. And we knew that pressure was on to make sure that it was the best film we could.
It's a ridiculous challenge to make one of these movies. I don't think people take into account how hard these movies are to make.
In Sharknado, you're doing like a whole movie in like 3 weeks or less.
14 days for Sharknado 2.
Yeah, so it's like, it's non-stop action, and you have to use your ingenuity, you gotta make stuff up on the spot, and the other thing is, everyone has to 100% know their lines. And be ready to mix it up and improvise on the spot.
The difference in Sharknado 2 is that the network got involved in a more significant way.
Syfy is based in New York City, and their absolute bottom line was this has to take place in New York.
To succeed, every element of the film had to be bigger and better.
Sharknado 2, we filmed in New York City, and that was a bit of a different experience. It was a bit of a bigger movie now.
Thunder's a real New Yorker, so he understood the geography of Manhattan in a way that was really beneficial to the story.
The city plays a bigger role in this one than Los Angeles did. This is New York.
The other great thing about Thunder is that he'll tell you, just leave me alone, I'll come back in a week and I'll have the ending.
Sharks, there's supposed to be sharks in this one?
Yeah.
My perspective is small town. A lot of my movies are written in small towns, so Sharknado was like the first big city thing.
Yeah.
But I still think that...
Well, New York is an interesting city, because it's a big city, but it also is kind of like a small town.
Filming in New York is difficult logistically. It's expensive.
We were in over our head with what we were facing with in New York. Thing about New York, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, people are great. We had a great time, and I would shoot there in a heartbeat. It's just really expensive, and when you have no money, it's just very difficult.
We try to stay under the radar as much as possible, but with Sharknado 2, that was not possible because Syfy and their press machine wanted to announce everything.
The press present in all locations, if not all, at least some.
Fans tried to see what was going on. People tried to leak things on the internet. Reporters wanted to know what was happening.
I don't think we've ever had so much attention on one of our films before.
And they wanted to shout it out to the world, where I just wanted to kind of close all the doors, lock it, and just shoot our little movie. There's just hundreds of people with their iPhones and wanting a piece of the magic of Sharknado.
Absolute feeding frenzy, no pun intended.
And so all of our normal tricks for saving money went out the window because you can't hide when a press release comes out to tell everyone where you are. That certainly increased the costs of the film, and the stakes were high. We knew we had to top the first one.
All eyes were on Sharknado 2. Now they had a location, but what about the cast?
Everyone wanted to be in Sharknado 2. Everyone wanted to come and be eaten.
The first thing we went to was the celebrities that tweeted about it and talked about it.
We decided that we would do more cameos.
William Shatner. We had asked him to be in the opening scene, which is just sort of an homage to the episode of Twilight Zone that he was in. We thought it'd be great to have him as a cameo in that scene. And his response was, Sharknado? That's Sharknado.
The enthusiasm that certain people have tweeting about the movie does not in any way translate to enthusiasm in actually being a part of the movie.
Not one has agreed to do it. So to a certain extent, it's something for them to tweet about and be part of the fun, but I wish they would take it to the next level and actually be in the movie. I'm talking to you, Daniel Radcliffe.
We did get a lot of people very interested in being a part of it. Not Mia Farrow. I'm really wondering if she did make that tweet after. But,
We got people like Perez Hilton, Will Wheaton. I was on the bench next to Jared.
To be part of something this big in pop culture is special. You should really be eating fresh too, you know.
Kelly Osbourne in our opening scene on the plane was really a lot of fun. Mark McGrath made a great teammate for Ian Ziering.
In some cases, we had a role that was written and we said, oh, this would be great for this person. In other cases, it was like, who is it? We'll write something for him.
Richard Kind.
That scene, I forgot about that.
Wasn't he cast the same day that he filmed practically?
It was 11 o'clock at night. I had to be up at like 4 in the morning, so that means I was going to be up at 3. And I get a call going, we need to write something for Richard Kind. He's going to be in the movie. And it's like, okay, it's 11 o'clock at night. So I call Thunder, and Thunder's like, I just took an Ambien. I was like, I'm asleep. It's like, great. So I was prepping the day, and I started sketching out what I wanted, and I called a buddy of mine in Los Angeles who we help each other out when we're in binds.
Sure.
And I said, look, and can you just sketch this out so I can work with it, because I also have to do my shot list and everything else. So in that half an hour, he wrote something really quick, sent it back to me, and then I worked on it from there.
A great example is Damon John from Shark Tank.
You got a job already!
We wrote something about him dropping a case full of money and going back to get a case full of money, and as a shark would go grab his money, he gets killed in the process of that.
Even though the special effects might be cheesy, you see the ambition, the drive, and the passion and the love that goes behind the making of these movies. And I think that's something that the fans are responding to.
We've done many VFX movies, but never one that required so much reliance on visual effects and post-production than this one.
Working out how to film flooded streets on New York when you've got a parked car, a parked taxi on the side of the road.
We're flooding New York. We're in New York.
You can't flood New York.
Yes, we can. This is Sharknado 2.
That was one of the big things in New York. Even if you close down the area, say we've closed off this side of the street, there's people everywhere.
We had about 15 paparazzi on the set every day.
Okay, there's paparazzi over that side of the street. We're gonna have to put the camera here and look up at the sky so that we don't see them over there,
To have that kind of community feel, like people really welcoming you into their neighborhood, because everybody knows, like as much as you may want somebody shooting in your neighborhood, you don't. Because it's a pain. They block your streets, like you can't get to where you're going. They're telling you to go to the other side of the road, even though you live right here. On this, people didn't care. People are like, oh wow, this is Sharknado, here, have a free pretzel,
They're gonna bring in the washer and dryer here on the street, and Finn's gonna go up and he's going to wash his clothes because he just was in the subway where he got drenched.
You can plan the shots, and then when you're there's a problem we didn't even consider.
We don't have the washer or the dryer. Yeah. No, it's okay, we'll make it a dry cleaner. Do we have a washboard?
What are we gonna do about it?
All that stupid, dude.
Oh, man.
Get it out here now.
All right, I'm sorry. I'll get it. I'll make sure it happens for you, sorry. I'm sorry. All right.
That was challenging.
It's the most important scene in the movie. Washer, dryer, Finn, washing his clothes, drying them, and then running to save the Empire State Building.
Two things we didn't think we were going to get for Sharknado 2 was Citi Field, and the other thing was the subway, because I really wanted to shoot on the subway.
Yeah.
But we had to look at alternatives, and they had the Subway History Museum.
Right.
And they said we could shoot there, and it's like, then we're gonna have to do green screen and all this stuff. And we had to go meet the head of MTA.
Oh, really?
And it was like going to the McCarthy hearings, because here's like 3 goofy kid-looking people. Like it looked like we were making a student film, because we just look like everyday schmoes.
Yeah.
We don't look like we're the corporate America studio film. And we're going in there, and all these people from MTA are sitting there. And we thought we were on trial, and then we started explaining what we wanted to do, and I think they go, we feel sorry for you guys. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give you the subway for 4 hours at this location. If you can do it in that amount of time, we'll let you do it.
We rented the subway, you know, a section of it. I was told we got it for free, and then found out it was $30,000 for that day.
Yeah, we were on 42nd Street on the S train,
Yeah.
I think. Just going back and forth from Grand Central to Times Square, yeah.
Like you said, we had only a tiny bit of time to do it.
Yeah.
So we had to get all the dialogue, and then literally the last 15 minutes was all this chaotic action, and literally if we didn't get it, we were toast.
Yeah,
so,
I thought you might collapse from like stress. I really did. We're filming, and it's this long dialogue scene, and there's action scenes, and just insane, and it got done.
And then with Ian, it was that last piece, I said, okay, forget what's scripted, Ian. This happens a lot on these. I go, okay, Ian, here's what we're gonna do, just trust me. And he trusts me, and that's the great thing about Ian.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, Ian, all right, you guys run, and okay, fall on the ground, Ian, fall on the ground, grab the bat, put the bat in there, and we're getting all these close-ups. Okay, get this camera, go over here, do this, and then cut, we're done, we gotta get off the train, and we got everything, and it cut together.
Where is this damn train?
Water spouts now have been formed over the Hudson and East Rivers. They're actually moving into Manhattan towards each other. So residents are encouraged to stay off the streets.
I don't want to alarm anyone, but there is concern that New York may be facing a shark storm similar.
Sharknado.
A shark storm.
With the budget rocketing out of control, the Sharknado crew was hit with the coldest winter in decades.
Talking about temperatures that'll be anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees below normal, with possible record lows.
This was probably one of the worst winters that New York and the surrounding area had had. Was it the polar vortex?
It was a blizzard, snowstorm, and we were supposed to be filming a summer movie.
Now, that was supposed to be set in the summer, okay? And it was like one of the coldest Februaries in New York history.
It was like 5 below in Manhattan.
And there was so much snow, it was crazy.
It was like insanely cold.
The wind chill made it 30 below zero, and we had no clothes on.
We gotta go before the river. I can't say the words. We gotta go before the river quests.
We had a lot of blooper outtakes of I can't speak.
We gotta go before the river crest. I can't. Sorry. Chill.
Yeah, do it.
You got it.
You know, we had all these heaters set up. You know, when the take was done, they ran over to the tents to get warm, and then they gotta get out there again and do their acting.
I do remember freezing in a tent, hogging the heater somewhere near Times Square.
We've had snow that was literally falling up, which I don't know how that happens.
And it was one of the coldest days of that winter.
It's supposed to be summertime, right? And
Yeah.
it was about, I think, 17 degrees that day.
Yeah.
And windy, and it would be snowing one minute, and then the next minute it's snowing. I remember Mark McGrath freaking out because it was really windy. It's cold.
Snow flurries and white everywhere.
We were filming at the baseball stadium, and we had to get them to clean off the snow from all the seats where the people were sitting. The field was covered in snow, and you're trying to make it seem like it's summertime.
We had to explain why there was ice and snow everywhere.
So you just have to go with it. You have to be flexible. And that's one of the beauties of these movies. You're flexible, and you're just saying, okay, that's part of the fun of this movie.
I think it was actually Syfy that said, look, you know, just embrace the weather. So whatever happens, it's summer, but it's the Sharknado.
And it's just, okay, that's what happens during a Sharknado in New York. Snow happens, that's part of the phenomenon. Okay, that'll work.
Whatever the weather ended up being, it was because sharks are in a tornado.
Flying sharks that can rip your head off are no laughing matter.
Sharknado 2, the second one, does not look ludicrous to me.
It seems plausible to you?
Not necessarily plausible.
I consider Sharknado 2 to be the most important film ever made about climate change.
After battling the elements, the press, and the streets of New York, Sharknado 2 was ready to be seen.
Last night marked the return of the man-eating tornado known as Sharknado.
I've never seen anything like this. Stay with us. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening down there, Raphael?
The bottom line with Sharknado 2 is it delivered.
The Twitter reaction was bigger, the ratings were bigger.
Oh my God, hashtag Sharknado 2, the second one. There are just no words, not even signs. LOL.
Just the cohesiveness from 1 carried over to 2, although it was a different team. But
somehow Anthony got everybody to bond and come together, and it was amazing, and it came through on the screen. It didn't lose its magic.
The holy grail is to create something for television that you have to watch live, and Sharknado 2 was that.
I just thought, wow, this is really something. And everybody at work the next day talked about it. My whole office talked about it the next day.
We were on every morning show in television to where everybody knew Sharknado. Oh yeah, I know, yeah, and they know what it is.
We had a call, I think, early Monday morning with the network, and I think I heard champagne popping in the background.
Well, it rated really highly, and people loved it as much, if not more, than the first one. So it was a success.
Social media, once again, got behind it. We were able to use the phrase 1 billion social impressions. So I think billion's a big number. That's got to be impressive to many people. I know it's impressive to me.
What is it that makes Sharknado so good and stuff? I don't know. You know, all the intricacies in it that make it work, you know, but I do know that it does work.
Because I'm obsessed with Sharknado, because I'm obsessed with everything pop culture, and this is not just a movie, this is a pop culture phenomenon, and I wanted to be a part of it.
Who doesn't want to be part of Sharknado?
What's happened is all forms of media and entertainment, celebrities, they're all talking about Sharknado.
It's fun. I mean, Sharknado is an event.
Fierce Sushi Fest, because we're gonna cut these sharks up.
There's something kitschy and hilarious, and of course, deeply serious and moving about Sharknado.
It's just a crazy thrill ride.
It's a hero. It's people being eaten and yet living and then coming out of the body like, whoa.
Tastes like my contact solution.
And I am more than willing to suspend all reality to just be completely entertained by that. And I think all of us have sort of been eaten up by this whole thing.
It blew Sharknado 1 out the water from a standpoint of social media, viewers, ratings. I mean, in every metric that you can measure.
Holy shark.
The first one, nobody knew that it was going to be this giant hit. And essentially, I imagine to a lot of like the stars that were in it, they were going, yeah, we're just making another sci-fi crazy movie. It's going to be super weird. And then you get to the second one and it's like, you know exactly what it is. You know everything that's going into it. And yet everybody's so excited. So seeing that it's been embraced by people is really pretty rad.
Yeah, Tara.
Oh. Yes! He just cut it in half.
Was I surprised by it? Of course not, because Ian Ziering is starring in it, so I knew it would do really well.
When I saw the cult following that came out afterwards, I don't think anybody was expecting that. It was pretty overwhelming and just really exciting in general.
You can't capture the same lightning in a bottle in the sense of it wasn't a new phenomenon anymore, but the thing that it did do was sort of cement Sharknado's place in the zeitgeist.
I think Sharknado is pop culture. I think if you were gonna have a pop culture convention, the banner would be shark and Finn coming out of it with a chainsaw.
It's Starbucks latte. You know, it's basically, you know, it's got its own entertaining, over-the-top style. At the same time, it's sweet, it's delicious, and it's caffeinated.
It takes usually 20 years for things to hit cult status, where they're corny and they're weird, but then all of a sudden they're ultimately super, super cool. And this hit it overnight.
But had the little movie people loved sold out?
This time we had actual products being integrated in the movie itself. One of the most well-known is Jared from Subway actually being in the movie.
The fact that I was eating a Subway sandwich on the Subway, and it would happen to be a tuna sub, no less, of course, and the shark swims right by.
Because of the social media aspects, we, together with Syfy, and started working on getting licensed products, such as our very first t-shirt, which I wore proudly today. Then all other kinds of licensees started being interested. We've done lunch boxes, book bags, cups, hats, a Halloween costume, an online video game, an online slot machine, and coming this year, we actually have a real slot machine going to be in casinos around the world.
I was very impressed that there was a Sharknado toy. So I have not gotten my 12-inch Ian Ziering doll yet. I do have one from 90210. I don't know, I can add a chainsaw to it and maybe, you know, kind of do a 2-for-1.
It's been incredibly fun. People just have a good time with what you've done, but no one's fooling themselves. We're all making different movies now, and we're all kind of doing what keeps the asylum young and vital and relevant to us. This is just more of an exercise of making fun films, and it's not necessarily an example of how to make a financially successful film, because it's our money.
We actually make the movies for less than we think we'll be able to get for them. The studios don't do that.
We're films made to order.
Which seems to make a whole lot of sense, right? I mean,
We've never lost money.
say that again.
We have never lost money.
That's
and
amazing.
And we don't do porn.
And you've been going like 17 years now.
Yeah. So we're reinvesting into these movies. We don't see necessarily a big profit. We get to not fire people, which is nice. We're struggling to make that money break even in a lot of ways and to do the next thing.
Sharknado is a Goliath. It is a huge part of pop culture, and I'm just glad to be a part of it now. Just think, like 20 years from now, my kids are gonna be looking at Sharknado stuff like, hey, my dad is, you know, kind of like we were looking at Star Wars stuff coming up. I think Sharknado is gonna be around for a long time, and a lot of people are gonna be able to have some fun with it.
This is the franchise that will never die.
Now Sharknado had become a franchise. It was Syfy's biggest original film and the most tweeted movie in history. Where does it go from there? How do you top unprecedented success?
The Sharknado franchise is uncharted territory for everybody. So if it ends at 3 or 4, it ends. If it goes into weird directions like a musical,
Sharknado the musical. Oh my God.
It's being done.
Really?
It's being done.
Well, I'm playing your dad.
I don't know. But we're just not gonna turn those opportunities away. I think we're gonna take them one at a time.
Each iteration has to top the previous one, because at some point you'll run into just a wall of, well, it was the same as the last film. It really wasn't that exciting. It didn't bring anything new to the table. So we always have to up the ante, and I'm always putting my foot on the gas pedal to do that.
We're still, I think, all pinching ourselves. We can't believe what this turned out to be.
I found that the movie has transcended genres. All types of people watch Sharknado.
This is a yearly event that people look forward to. They have all summer to talk about their experience. They've got all winter to get excited for what's coming next. So it builds over the year.
We didn't spend $50 million promoting Sharknado to, you know, like to drone it into people's head to program them into watching it. They saw it, they thought it was hilarious, and they watched it.
Sharknado, this franchise really goes for the smarter, more educated, computer-savvy person, I think.
Now, we understand that that Sharknado 3 is already in the works. Is that? Yeah. That's true.
So is this a different storm or is it the same storm?
A lot of people have been asking that, and that's a great question. It's both. It's the same storm, and it is a different storm, and that's kind of what makes it Sharknado.
It doesn't really stop. There was the anticipation leading up to, say, Sharknado 3, and when is it going to start filming, and who's going to be in it. And now, while we have the production, okay, who's going to be the cameos? What's it going to be about? Where's it going to shoot?
Kids, you guys have some questions about Sharknado?
No. Not really.
How do you keep fans interested in a movie called Sharknado?
Who's going to be in 3? Do you know yet? Because are you working on 3 yet?
It just gets more and more crazy.
It's campy, right?
It's fun. It's a completely different genre.
Everyone talks about how our films are campy and over the top, and all of these things are true, but we don't go into them trying to make a campy, over the top film.
And just for and giggles, what does this look like? You're stopping. I am stopping. Look, do you see any of this? How does that look in your frame?
That actually looked good. We should have just ran it with the stopping because that would have worked for the bits. Just move up a hair and then stop and do the line.
Like you can see the overhang. You see it in your...
Yeah.
Don't you see that?
Yes.
No, I wasn't talking to you. That was my line.
I am a very firm believer that you can't do camp intentionally. If you do, it fails. Where it becomes campy is when everyone is sincere.
There's a sincerity to it. Earnestness.
Yeah. David Latt has a mantra that I adopted as my mantra throughout the development process. Sharknado is not a comedy.
Don't say it. Jump the shark.
Sharknado is not a comedy.
I'm gonna go to the toy store. For what? Well, you gotta have something for the bombs in the tornado, right?
Yeah.
I got you.
You have to lie to yourself a little bit and say that it's not a comedy.
They took my grandfather. So I really hate sharks.
You need to be committed and act naturally in these imaginary circumstances for the ability to suspend the disbelief. Once you let the wind out of the sails, then the audience is going to turn the channel.
You know, we as actors, when we're playing the scenes, we're doing them 100% seriously.
And I think that's what makes movies like this work, because the characters are real with all the crazy shark stuff going around. We're playing it real, and if we play it real, the audience will play it for real.
The most sincere moments are actually the funniest, because it's the concept that on its core is ridiculous, but everyone who's involved in the production can't let on.
To pull off a movie like this, it takes hard work, you know, and it takes creativity, and it takes planning, and it takes everyone really working those extra hours.
And that kind of energy, I think, comes out in the films.
Well, it's impossible to replicate the form of camp that Sharknado represents, because it's a genre of its own. And the only other movies that would fit in that genre are more Sharknado movies.
At the end of the day, we're successful because of our fans.
The science fiction fans are the best fans in the world. They are.
Sharknado fans are like no other fans I've ever met.
Listen, who made Sharknado a hit? The fans made it a hit.
People will take their time to watch, buy, go to movie theaters, watch our movies get made fun of by riff tracks.
I mean, the most surprising people come out of the woodwork to proclaim their love of Sharknado.
Let's go kill some sharks!
You never know which direction the shark's gonna come from. You think we're safe in this building, and boom, here comes a shark through the ceiling. And I believe that's what keeps the superfan going.
What the fans are taking away from it is just the sense of silliness. You know, it's like they know that they're in the joke. They watch it to laugh at the movie.
What you see on camera is what we intended to put on camera. It looks exactly like we wanted it to. That's what the movie's supposed to be. So the people who get that and understand what we were trying to go for love it, and it's just a total disconnect from reality for them.
It's a strong fan base, and I mean, I never realized that the phenomenon that would be going on with Sharknado, but you know, people are addicted to it.
The core fan base, I think, is the same. The people who love these kind of B, schlocky, crazy movies, those are our core fan base. They love it. But now it's crossed over. Not only do we have fans, we have equally rabid haters who are really fans who just love you and are mad that we didn't put them in the movie.
The haters love the haters that love to hate the love. What can I say? It's Sharknado.
Thanks, Obama. This is out of control. We got sharks flying around here.
The fans are very supportive. When they find something that they like, they'll come up and tell you. They'll also come up and tell you when they don't like something, too. Fortunate for me, I've been a part of projects that have touched people in a positive way, so it's always been very nice, and I'm always very flattered when someone comes and says hello and tells me they watch 90210 still, or the Sharknado movies. You know, as an actor, this is really some of the give back that just makes it all really so fun and worthwhile to know people are enjoying what you're doing.
Action! Sharknado 3, Tybee Island. I'm not sure if this is working. I'm done.
So the fans really are so important.
There's like 6 or 7 that are prominently featured on the Google search results of people who have huge, visible, colorful Sharknado tattoos. That's just insane to me to think about.
That's so permanent, you know. It just says that this film has so much meaning in their lives, hopefully joyful meaning in their lives, that they want to celebrate that by putting that on their body.
I wonder if there is a kind of connection between the legalization of marijuana and the success of Sharknado. Personally, I've never seen a shark smoke a joint. Personally.
Like, we go to Comic-Con and there are literally Sharknado costumes now, where people are walking around and like one girl had her hair where it looked like a tornado and there were sharks hanging all out of her hair. We came up with this crazy concept and idea, but at the end of the day, they've taken it to a place we never thought that it would go. It's like the little engine that could. And the reason it could is because our fans lifted it up higher and higher and higher, and who knows where it's gonna stop.
I hate all these bandwagon fans watching Sharknado on TV who didn't even read the book first.
What is it that will make Sharknado 3 successful?
Not in my wildest imaginations did I ever think that we'd be working on our third movie, talking about our fourth, fifth, sixth. I never thought for a second it would create a summer franchise.
How are they going to top what they did?
See, that's the big question, but you guys, this movie's so much fun. I mean, Iron's back, Tara's back.
The original one was like a 6 on the volume scale. And you crank it up to 20. That is Sharknado 3.
Here we are on the third.
In Sharknado 3, we struggled early on because it was a tough task, the top two, but I think we got there.
You have to grow and you have to make it bigger, and it's always where I was afraid it's going to fly a little too high.
People expect more, but we really have the same resources, and because you expect more, it's almost like we have less resources because we have to do more with them.
But they always find a way to top it and just make every situation 10 times more insane.
How do we possibly top the outrageous gags? I mean, that's the most difficult thing, is just sitting there and thinking of ways in which you can outdo the previous iterations without spiraling into like this farcical nonsense. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. Just the physics of the Sharknado and the propane bombs. But there's a kind of a grounded sort of action movie logic in the midst of all of it. So that's what we try to preserve.
I would describe Sharknado 3 as a fun, fierce sushi fest.
Sharknado 3 is coming to DC.
It covers a little bit more territory in terms of the east coast of the United States. So a lot more places fall victim to Sharknadoes.
The other thing that's amazing to me is how little prepared it seems every city is. After the devastation in New York and then the devastation in LA, you would think that planet Earth would be better prepared for the next Sharknado, and yet we continue to forget the lessons of the past.
New footage is from the Smithsonian when the Sharknado first touched down on the nation's capital. We have the tape, but I do have to warn you, this is graphic.
Sharknado 3, when we shot the first part of this, I felt like I was on a big budget picture. Universal treated us like kings. Everything was top notch. We had a soundstage, a real actual soundstage to work within, and we had a crew that built some unbelievable sets. The progression has really been a testament to the success of the Sharknado franchise.
First 2 weeks of that production, it was going smooth like butter. And this is so unlike our experience on Sharknado 2. Everything's perfect, nothing could possibly go wrong.
But no Sharknado film is made easily, and success brings new challenges.
Sharknado 3, I mean, it's hot over there. It's under siege. Members of the crew taking a big bite out of production. They went on strike today, and E.T. was on the scene.
We've gone union before. We have no problem with union. Some shows allow for it on the budget, some don't.
Just 2 weeks ago, E.T. was on the set of the film, codenamed Vortex 3. No word yet from producers The Asylum.
I think it was on day one. The first day in Los Angeles, we got a call that certain members of the union had shown up on the set before anybody started working. And they told all of their members that they couldn't work, which we understood. But they also coerced the non-union crew into not working by telling them that they would never be able to join the union in the future.
For myself, I had no problem. I'm a member of SHAG, the Shark Actors Guild, and I had my contract signed and we were fine.
We still make low-budget films. So as big as Sharknado is, we're not handing out $1 million contracts to every actor that wants to be in our film.
The thing that was most difficult on the actors was that they had worked with this crew for 2 weeks before that point and suddenly weren't working with this crew anymore that they'd had rapport with.
You know, to walk through the line and get yelled at by the same people that you thought were your friends too is difficult as well, you know, for those couple that that thought that was a necessary way to go, you know, about doing business.
It's just so sad that it was about something that had nothing to do with this movie, and the people who were hurt were the people that were in the biggest position to be hurt. And these people lost their jobs, not because they were fired or anything like that, just because of these circumstances. And I know that that had an effect on the, you know, the cohesion of the project. It was a different film after.
And I think the Sharknado series is in a tricky situation because it's a household name, everybody knows it, so they assume that there's money there.
The success of Sharknado is not a financial success. I mean, both of the films have done well, they've been profitable, but you know, I don't go home and bathe in a tub of money. Sometimes I do, but it's pennies.
All of our shows are low enough where it doesn't really cause a lot of bells and whistles to the unions because there's nothing to get out of these things. I mean, you know, it's a very limited margin of nothing.
I'm a big believer in fairness, you know, and union films, I'm all for them, and I'll, you know, wish I could be working on them, you know, I'd love to be making that money.
We will still shoot films with the union and be a supporter of unions and a supporter of labor and make these films. This whole thing was Alice in Wonderland. I mean, it was just the Looking Glass, it was horrible.
But the show had to go on.
The film's gonna get made, and the audience is never gonna know where something, you know, was done with a replacement crew or whatever the case may be, and the film is a blast.
And at the end of the day, we finished the film.
Let's go show them what it means to be a hero.
Let's go kill some sharks!
We have learned that there are going to be 50 celebrity cameos in Sharknado 3.
From 1 to 2, you're looking at what are the gags? You know, how is it going to be? You know, the gags are going to be top each other. From 2 to 3, it's not only about the gags, but more so it's about who in the cameo side is going to show up.
I mean, there's so many cameos in Sharknado 3. It's insane.
Woody Allen is in 3.
Daniel Radcliffe's in there.
It's probably gonna have 40 star name cameos in it. From every walk of life, like from professional athletes to actors to TV hosts.
For 2, we were chasing after people. Please, please do a cameo in our movie. For this one, they were coming to us. We had to say no to people that wanted to do cameos.
I have stars that are begging to be in the movie, like these ridiculously busy people. Their agents are telling them, "You can't do this," and they're like, "No, I'm going to do it." And they're like, "No, but I need you that day." And they're like, "Yo, you have to clear my schedule." Not because we're making them the star of the movie, because they just want to be a part of this crazy little movie that we have.
We even brought back a guy that died in the second film.
We did?
When I said I want to be in Sharknado 3, they said, "Yeah, but you got eaten."
He was saying, "No, I can be my sister." And he sent a picture of himself in drag. It was hilarious.
I convinced them that I survived, and they put me in Sharknado 3.
We're stupid that way.
It's just a crazy thrill ride, just like the first 2. You know, like, you better expect the unexpected, and you better expect the unexpected cameos that are coming into play too as well. You know, it's just, it's something that you can't really say what it's going to be, but you know that it's going to be ridiculous and it's going to be great.
Every single extra is somebody famous.
It was so much fun pulling up today and seeing Lou Ferrigno and Mark McGrath.
The challenge is when you get a cameo that comes in the last minute is to make that work in the show. That's always been a challenge.
This is going to be a cameo crazy movie. If you're into playing beverage drinking games with your buddies, as some of us are during Sharknado, this is going to be an interesting evening for a lot of people.
You'll be drunk in the first 10 minutes. Completely gone.
It'll be likely that Sharknado 3 breaks all Twitter records. Everybody's going to be going nuts, and I'll be right in the middle of it. I'll be live tweeting.
It's just a fun movie, you know. It's for people to get together with friends and have dinner and watch a silly movie.
I am not one to invite humans to my house, but I will have beverages and food, and I will invite anyone and everyone who wants to come to my house. Honestly, it's like a Super Bowl watching party. It's the same setup, same vibe.
Adults want to be kids again, and I think Sharknado in its own way lets adults kind of just watch something totally ridiculous and laugh and have fun about it, and then it's such a social element.
Sharknado! Becky Hammond-Myers and her crew are prepping for a watch party in the Sharknadium.
I thought it would just be fun to just, you know, have a party and do drinking games and just be silly and act like a kid again.
Sharks galore, a homemade Sharknado, and shark-themed drinks and food.
So it's not only an event in the United States, it's a global event.
One of my other favorite moments in Sharknado 3 was the scene where the President of the United States, played by Mark Cuban, introduces Ian Ziering, Finn Shepard, as the Presidential Medal of Freedom winner. I hadn't really given the speech as much thought until I was on set. It sent chills down my spine because it occurred to me in that moment how only 2 years ago, Finn Shepard was just this rundown ex-surfer running a little shack beach bar, and here only 2 years later, he was receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And how that paralleled our experience making these movies, how just 2 years ago, we were making this strange little B-movie that hardly anybody was going to see, and now 2 years later, it's the third one in a franchise, and it's become a global phenomena, really.
If we've learned anything from the Sharknado franchise, we've learned nothing can stop a tornado filled with sharks.
Sharknado 3, get your chopsticks ready.
You're gonna see this big spectacle movie. You're gonna see things you've never seen before, and it's gonna blow you away.
This is a certain something that has caught on and become bigger than what it was ever intended to be.
Nice, quiet. And the fans don't have a second to catch their breath. These movies never stop. They're just throwing everything at the screen.
Sounds great. It's a tornado with sharks.
Tornado, sharks come. You really haven't heard of it? Has she heard about it?
No.
You never know what's going to happen in a Sharknado.
They always find a way to top it and just make every situation 10 times more insane.
Well, there wouldn't be a third if it wasn't a phenomenon.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
The purest, most magically absurd action movie possible.
My wife never misses an opportunity to tell me I told you so. And I'll give it to her. I'm like, yeah, honey, you know what? You were right. And thank God I married you for a partner because it's working out. It's working out pretty good.
Shepard, the president needs you right now.
The president of the United States.
Not again. DC isn't safe. What?
They're everywhere!
You're not the only hero in the family. It won't be over until we figure out why this is happening and why it keeps coming back.
If the storm heads south, it's going to get warmer and it's going to get stronger.
Cities up and down the eastern seaboard are being put on red alert.
They really are saving the world.
Is there anyone specific I'd love to see eaten by a shark?
I would like to be eaten with Brad Pitt or by Brad Pitt. Either way is fine.
Flipper.
A Barack Obama cameo would be amazing. I just got attacked by a shark.
It's Seth Green. Nathan Fillion.
J-Lo.
Chomp.
Nancy Pelosi.
Bryan Cranston.
Well, I have a couple of agents.
I want to see Dolly Parton in Sharknado.
Maybe Too Short.
A young Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, no, it's obvious. Marcellus Wiley.
Oprah. The entire Kardashian clan.
I don't want to give his name. I'm just going to give his initials. Matt Lauer.
Arnold Schwarzenegger for a shot. Get away from me, shark!
The producers. I would like to eat the producers.
My good friend Charlie Murphy.
Matt Damon. God, wouldn't you like to bite into him one time?
I love Ian, but he's got to go.
Everyone but me and my family. How about that, okay? Yeah. As long as I don't, I'm good with it.
I'd love to see Richard Dreyfuss come and fight a Sharknado because I heard he's a little bit crazy.
James Franco, come on, dog. Come on, baby.
Ian McKellen. I'd like to eat anyone who played a hobbit, really. That's it, really.